Good morning. My name is Ben McKnight. I'm the Executive Director of the Partners for Pollution Prevention. Good morning. My name is Ben McKnight. I'm the Executive Director for the Partners for Pollution Prevention. Welcome to the 23rd Annual Partners for Pollution Prevention Conference. Small changes equal big impacts. This has been a very difficult year for everyone with the COVID 19 pandemic. Businesses have been forced to shut down for a period of time. Many people are forced to work from home, and those businesses that have worked throughout the pandemic have been forced to take their EHS policies to a whole new level. For all of us, the pandemic has taken a toll on our resources, from checking temperatures to wearing masks or just the daily paperwork that sometimes can be overwhelming. For a period of time when the state shut down, it was uncertain if we would even have a conference. In My original thought was, well, the conference is in September, so things should be back to normal. But as time passed in September, or in time passed, and conferences were canceling both their original dates and their makeup dates, we wondered if we'd even be able to have a conference at all this year. The, the dedication of the partners organization and the partnership with the Indian Department of Environmental Management decided several months ago that we still needed to have a conference to give everyone a chance to see the wonderful pollution prevention projects that are happening throughout the state of Indiana. This conference gives licensed operators and professionals a chance to get their continuous education credits, and that's not been possible for most of this year. To view our CEU forums or all of our continuous education forums, they're all located under the conference material on the partners website. So if you go to the partners website, you see conference materials. If you would please just click on that and it'll break down whether it's engineering or it's water, it's drinking water, or whether it's wastewater treatment. And you can pull that up and it'll show you the exact amount of hours that you'll be receiving. When we decided to have a conference, several of us had spent many hours going through demo recordings on conferences. We chose Hey Summit as our website platform, which you've all seen throughout the before the conference, showing the countdown and when you registered. Zoom for our video site, which we're using right now, and Remo website for our exhibitors, our sponsors and exhibitors. None of us had ever put on a virtual conference before, except for using Zoom for Zoom meetings and those type of items. After obtaining everything, the team at IDEM had spent many hours putting this conference together with the help of myself, Mike Foster for sponsors, Ron Roskerberg for exhibitors, Meg Welton for speakers, and Steve Jacobson for setting up the tickets and making sure people could log on and be able to purchase these things. Normally, when we have an annual conference, everybody in the executive committee has a role and responsibility for the day of the conference. With this year, it's been quite a bit different because it's virtual, so there are only certain people could help. Uh, I do want to give a thank to our sponsors, to our exhibitors. That you can visit in the Remo website, and all the attendees, for coming in and viewing this conference. I also want to give thanks to the executive committee members that have helped not only in this conference, but has been dedicated to our monthly meetings and setting up your conferences in the past and quarterly meetings. I do want to give a special thanks to all the staff at the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. They're in the background today running this event, and they've spent countless hours putting this event together. I want to give a very special thanks to Julia Wickard, Jennifer Collins, Gene Fix, and Kristen Coaster, and many more of their staff that's not only helped put this together, but has also helped promote the conference. We have a lot of great speakers today and tomorrow through our keynote speaker, our success stories, and then our water tracks. I hope everyone enjoys this conference, and I hope to see everyone in person next year. With this completing my opening and welcoming everybody, I would like to introduce Bruno Piggott, the Commissioner of the Indiana Department of Environmental Management, for the Commissioner's welcome. And thank you very much for joining.
To the all-virtual 23rd Annual Pollution Prevention Conference and Trade Show. My name is Bruno Piggott, Commissioner of the Indiana Department of Environmental Management. On behalf of Governor Eric Holcomb, Assistant Commissioner Julia Wickard, and our entire Office of Program Support team, we are excited you are joining us for this first-of-its-kind virtual conference from the comforts of your office or your living room. We will be sharing information and learning together about pollution prevention efforts in the state of Indiana. We all know that pollution prevention is the arena where environment and the economy can meet on common ground. Your interest and participation in the conference are appreciated. The Partners for Pollution Prevention organization has partnered with IDEM for over 23 years to promote and provide a forum for pollution prevention, stewardship, and sustainability interests to come together. Today, you'll have the opportunity to network virtually on our REMO platform and exchange ideas about your experiences and how pollution prevention efforts fit into current and future IDEM programs. Participation in the partners meetings and the conference continues to grow. Last year, we had 290 attendees, and we're expecting a large number of participants this year too. Congratulations, and thank you for being here today. A viable Indiana requires a healthy environment and a healthy economy, and that is what lies at the heart of this relationship. The pollution prevention efforts implemented across the state due to all your efforts have been invaluable in Indiana, economically and environmentally. We are glad you are here and taking advantage of this terrific opportunity to learn from today's presenters and network with other conference attendees. As I reflect on the conference theme, small changes, big impacts, I pause for a moment to think about how each of us collectively can make big impacts in the environmental arena. You see, reducing pollution prevention is really all our responsibility. Taking one small action creates movement toward the larger goal of a clean environment. Pause for a moment and think about your story with environmental progress and how you, yourself, and the organization you represent today are making incremental steps toward reductions in waste, toxics, and air emissions. When we share our stories, it invites others to share their stories and gives us the sense that we're not alone on this journey. Last year, Assistant Commissioner Wickard developed a top 10 list. So as I wrap up, I want to share this year's list with you today. Top 10 reasons to attend this year's conference. Number 10, hearing an incredible pollution prevention keynote speaker. Number 9, honoring 6 entities for receiving the Governor's Awards for Environmental Excellence. Number 8, receiving updates from Partners for Pollution Prevention Executive Director Ben McKnight. Number 7, inducting 6 new participants into the Partners for Pollution Prevention organization. Number 6, participating in breakout sessions on water. Number 5, hearing from Indiana companies on pollution prevention success stories. Number 4, visiting our vendors in our expanded trade show. Number 3, learning from 2020 Governor's Awards for Environmental Excellence recipients. Number 2, winning some fabulous giveaways. And finally, drum roll please, number 1, networking and telling your story with leaders and industry professionals from across the state who are innovative thought leaders and are truly moving the needle related to pollution prevention efforts. We are glad you chose to participate in this year's virtual event and are excited to connect us together. A lot of work, time, and talent is invested in making the best pollution prevention conference in the country right here in Indiana. A special shout out to our IDEM team members, Jennifer Collins, Jean Fix, Kristen Coasters, Cameron Machino, and Julia Wickard on their excellent work. The Partners Executive Committee and the IDEM team are paramount in the success of this conference and trade show, and their work does not go unnoticed. Filmmaker Woody Allen said in 1977, "Showing up is 80% of life." The quote, "The world is run by those who show up," has been a slogan of many political and business leaders for decades and has been recorded in print since 1987. Thanks for showing up today and for being bold in your pollution prevention efforts in our great state and exemplifying leadership in your actions, both in your personal and your professional lives. Finally, if you use social media, please use the hashtags small changes, hashtag big impact, and hashtag pollution prevention for your conference posts. Thank you and have a great conference.
Now it's time for the partners updates. This is actually a picture from our last year's conference. As everybody well understands, we will not have one for this year. But we do have an exceptional amount of members that are part of the partners organization. The partners, as you know, based on our APRs, we're able to keep data and collect data that we actually use for our conference trade show. And we like to show you the pollution that's been eliminated or minimized through the last 13 years. The partners organization and the members of the organization have been able to have a reduction close to 17.5 billion pounds of air emissions over the last 13 years. This includes 67 million pounds of toxic reduction. Reduce over 809 million pounds of hazardous waste. Eliminate almost 186 million pounds of waste that is through processes. Conserve over 41 billion kilowatts of electricity. We go over these every year, and I thought I'd try to put this in a little more perspective for a few of the slides that mean a lot to our everyday use. And I know there's people out there that can get their calculators and know these facts better than I do. But 41.5 billion kilowatts of electricity. Just doing a quick Google search, that's actually enough savings of electricity to run 6.9 million homes for 1 year. Been able to conserve close to 554 million therms of natural gas. That's enough gas to run virtually 1.3 million homes for a 1 year period as well. And conserve over 7 billion gallons of water. This number based on, certain searches, it's not as impressive as 7 billion gallons of water is, based on what it shows a monthly average house of family of four would use. But it is enough to run over almost 600,000 homes for 1 month. And we've had a reduction of over 70 million pounds of water pollutants as well. And recycled 2 billion pounds of material. These emissions are actually taken from the APRs, and that's why the APRs are so important, off our from our annual certifications or recertifications. And this is data submitted by the members through 2008 through 2020. And as I said before, it's 13 years worth of data. The partners organization currently has 104 members, with 11 new members since our conference in 2019. Membership, of course, is free and voluntary. Applicants must commit to the Partners Pledge to be inducted into the program, contingency plans on having a positive environmental compliance record. Each partner is required to complete a pollution prevention activity report to retain their membership. To help us grow our organization, we are actively on our LinkedIn website. For these meetings, whether it be virtual or live meetings, your business colleagues invite people from other companies to visit and join the group. Distributing partners material at conferences or other meetings that you attend. The partners brochure is available on this link below. We do have new inductees we would like to induct into the partners organization. And, on a normal conference, we would do these one at a time, and we'll do them one at a time. But, individually, we would announce the individuals and be able to, shake their hand and take a picture. With these times, pictures that they've taken themselves after we've sent the certificate along with the flag is the best we can do for now. So I would like to introduce Caterpillar Lafayette Engine Plant. They manufacture the 3500 and 3600 series diesel and natural gas engines. The facility receives the raw engine blocks, which they machine, assemble, test, paint, package, and ship to their customers. This facility was established in 1982, and they are also members of the Environmental Stewardship Program, or the ESP program. Our next inductee would be SET Environmental, combining 40 years with traditional of integrity, innovation, and excellence. SET Environmental provides environmental management services nationwide. Services include chemical and environmental emergency response, industrial maintenance, lab packs, customized waste disposal programs. Our next member is actually PSG Environmental Group. PSG installs solar systems for various markets in the Midwest. As part of a larger family of companies, PSG identifies renewable energy solutions to meet the client's needs, as well as the capabilities to provide a comprehensive suite of facilities services for energy reduction on offset projects. PSG has inherent industrial knowledge and are active members of the national trade associations promoting renewable energy. They've also been in operation since 2016. Our next member is actually BHC. BHC manufactures chemicals under two trusted brands, Brulin and Patco Food Safety, to markets such as building maintenance, healthcare, industrial, and food services. They are committed to aggressive R&D facilities and stringent quality assurance and specified standards in first-class services. And BHC has actually been in service for 85 years. And our last but not least is actually Elkhart Plastics. We want to induct two facilities for Elkhart Plastics. This is the one located in Elkhart, Indiana, and South Bend. Elkhart Plastics was founded in 1988 and is a privately held American company. They're one of the largest custom radial molding companies in the United States, consisting of 6 independent facilities. As I said, today we're going to induct the Elkhart and the South Bend, Indiana facility. We give out 3 scholarships every year for $1,000. Our criteria is the graduate students must be students in Indiana and residents of Indiana interested in pursuing an industrial sustainability and pollution prevention in the industry. Our first recipient is actually Mason Markle. Mason is currently a junior an environmental and economic engineering program and plans to pursue a career in environmental activism and environmental education initiative. Our next student is from Ball State University, Carlene Sanzo. Carlene is currently a junior studying microbiology and environmental management. She loves science and environmental studies. Her career path currently is focused on hazardous and bioremediation and working with the US EPA. Our third recipient is Megan Burkholder. Megan is currently a senior with a double major in public health and orphan and vulnerable children. She plans on going to graduate school to get her master's in global health and work overseas to improve the health of vulnerable populations. I do want to put a slide in here for our executive committee. As you know, myself, Ben McKnight, and our assistant director, Ron, and our treasurer, Mike Englert, and you can see the rest of the members listed below. Please visit our REMO exhibitor hall and networking. It opens each day from 11:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Each exhibitor has an assigned table. You can move from table to table with a 6-person maximum at a table. And if you'd like private conversations, you can move to a third level and have private conversations. We want to welcome and thank our exhibitors. Typically on a normal conference, we will go through our exhibitors and they can actually, do their own small bio. Of course, this year with a virtual conference, it's been a little more difficult. If you need to know more about these exhibitors, you can actually visit them in the REMO website, and you can talk more one-on-one during our break sessions. But I would like to welcome Civil Engineering and Consultants, Cornerstone Environmental Health and Safety, Environmental Quality and Management, ERM, E-Tank, GCI, Emissions Testing Services, Heritage Environmental Services, the IDEM CTAP, Cara Media, NEI, Purdue EEE, Summit Environmental Services, US EPA, and Wilcox Environmental Services. And we also want to promote and give a special thanks to our exhibitors as well, or our sponsors. Lilly, Allegion, Roche, NEI, Evonik, Caterpillar, and our silver sponsors such as AstraZeneca and Allison Transmission. We also want to put a congratulations to Lynn Partridge on his retirement. Lynn's been a longtime member of the executive committee. He's retiring from Environmental Remediation Services, or ERS, after 22 years of service. ERS has been a partner since 2005, and Lynn is actually the longest serving member of the executive committee for 15 plus years. Lynn will actually continue to be an executive committee member as a mentor and an advisor. I want to thank you for joining us in our 23rd annual Partners for Pollution Prevention. Small changes make equal big impacts. And I would like to let you know that our next break will actually start, or our next session will actually start at 10:40, and we will be on break until that period of time. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Hello. I want to welcome you all back to the 23rd Annual Indiana Pollution Prevention Virtual Conference and Trade Show. Good morning. My name is Julia Wickard, and I proudly serve Indiana State Government in the Indiana Department of Environmental Management as the Assistant Commissioner and Agricultural Liaison for the Office of Program Support. I work closely with our Partners for Pollution Prevention team and also work very closely with our Partners Executive Committee, whom you met earlier. Thank you, Ben, for your welcome. And Bruno, thank you for your inspiring comments to kick us off for our conference. We appreciate each of yours commitment to pollution prevention efforts in the state of Indiana. To all attendees, we are glad you are joining us today and tomorrow for our 23rd time around the sun for this important discussion. As a virtual conference and trade show, I want to emphasize the all in virtual. I know we each long for the day when we can meet face-to-face and personally network with one another. But in the meantime, this is our venue where all of us can gather together. We know this over-the-computer screen opportunity is giving access to those that may never have had the opportunity to attend a P2 meeting, complete with great speakers, valuable information, and tremendous networking discussions, and means to earn CEUs. Today and tomorrow is your time to do just that, in the comfort of your home office, or as Bruno said, maybe even your living rooms, while also obtaining some great resources for you to incorporate into your place of business or your personal lives. If you are a social media user on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, we encourage you to add our special P2 conference hashtags in your posts. They're located on the screen. They are hashtag small changes, hashtag big impact, and hashtag pollution prevention. Now let's get started. We have a great keynote speaker presentation for you this morning. You will hear about how small pollution prevention steps that you can take at home and in your businesses can result in big environmental impact reductions. But before we dive into the keynote, I want to provide you all a roadmap of our logistics for this part of the conference. In just a few seconds, I will share with you the logistics of our virtual meeting. I will introduce the topic and speaker, where you'll hear from our keynote speaker in their presentation, and then you'll be able to interact live with them in the question and answer session. Our P2 conference is pre-recorded, but is being shared today with a live moderator, me. We are recording the virtual conference, and it will be posted on the IDEM YouTube channel following the conference. We ask that you use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to ask questions. We have conference staff monitoring the questions, and they will be posting resources and links as needed. Our keynote speaker, Jean Waters, will be live after the session to answer your questions. Following the conference, we will send out a survey through email. Look for it and provide us your feedback, as it makes our conferences and future gatherings even more impactful. We have some amazing sponsors, and Ben highlighted them earlier. They have risen to the challenge to assist in monetarily supporting this conference. Their logos appear on the slides in front of you. Our gold sponsors are Caterpillar, Lilly, NEI, Elysian, Roche, and Evonik. And our silver sponsors are Allison Transmission and AstraZeneca. And with moderator privilege, before we dive into the keynote presentation, I want to send a shout out to the 3 IDEM wizards behind the curtain. I have the opportunity to lead and serve with these 3 amazing women, whom have each learned 3 virtual platforms, Zoom, Remo, and Hey Summit, in record time. They have answered your questions in a timely fashion as you have asked them, and they are passionate about this conference's subject and have given of themselves selflessly in presenting this first ever virtual conference. I want to thank the P2 Executive Committee members and IDEM staff members, Jennifer Collins and Jean Fix, for their incredible multitasking abilities, and our newest IDEM team member, who was hired in early March, yes, in the middle of the pandemic and while we were all sequestered at home, Kristen Coasters, who is our virtual conference platform queen. Thank you, Jennifer, Jean, and Kristen, for everything you are doing behind the scenes. I also want to send a big shout out to the P2 Executive Committee for brainstorming and helping to plan this 23rd annual conference. For this conference, a special thank you to Mike Foster, Ron Rothgerber, Meg Welton, and Steve Jacobson, and of course, Ben McKnight. Kudos to IDEM staff and our P2 Executive Committee. As we begin the heart of our conference, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Ms. Jean Waters. Jean received her Master of Science in Chemical Engineering at Kansas State University. She has over 25 years of experience assisting businesses with P2 and sustainability, energy efficiency, and waste prevention efforts. Her focus is on strategic planning, root cause analysis, and environmental management. Among other projects, Waters is leading a nationwide effort for the Pacific Northwest Pollution Prevention Resource Center to prevent fats, oils, and greases from entering wastewater. This project focuses on rural and tribal communities with stressed water treatment systems. She served as Deputy State Director for the Nebraska Business Development Center and also worked at Kansas State University as the Director of the Pollution Prevention Institute. Take it away, Ms. Waters.
Hello, my name is Jean Waters, and I'm here to talk to you today about sustainability, pollution prevention, and how you can make small changes which will lead to big impacts at your company. I've worked with small and medium-sized businesses for years, worked on pollution prevention since 1993. I've worked in business and worked for Koch Fiberglass Company and also Beach Aircraft Company in Wichita, Kansas. Then Kansas State University Pollution Prevention Institute, and now I live in Omaha, Nebraska, and recently worked at the Nebraska Business Development Center and was the director of the Pollution Prevention Resource Exchange Network, which was a national network of pollution prevention information centers. And so I've been doing this work for a long time now. I'm an independent consultant working with businesses on sustainability and pollution prevention. I believe in pollution prevention. I think it's an important way to make real changes that are lasting and improve the environment and improve the efficiency at your company. I'm sorry that I don't get to be with you in person, but I know that we're all safer for being separate, and I hope that I'm really glad that this conference is going to go ahead and happen, and I really hope that you will get a benefit out of it and that you will be able to learn something from my presentation and the other presentations that you have in these next 2 days. I think it's great that Indiana still has a pollution prevention conference. So many states have given that up. So good job. Thanks for having me. I'm coming from Omaha, Nebraska, at my house. And sorry I can't be with you, and let's get started. So the quote I have for you on the cover slide, taking small steps is always better than standing still. And I believe that, and I'm going to encourage you to do some bigger steps, but I always want you to remember that doing something is better than doing nothing. So we'll start by saying change is hard. It's hard to get people to change. There was that book, Who Moved My Cheese? You know, it's just change itself is hard. And motivating people to change is often harder than the actual technical change. So I'm an engineer. I appreciate the technology. I can see how you can change technology and make changes in your operations. But sometimes getting other people on board is really difficult. So I want to talk a little bit about that, motivation. If you have a green team, I hope you have a green team. Maybe you had one and now you don't anymore. Maybe it's time to revitalize that. Who knows in the world of COVID what your green team is doing right now, but it can really help. It can help you to have other people to talk to and to share the load. They can be change agents and supporters throughout the organization, and support each other and help see where changes need to be made and bring new ideas to the things that you can do, the projects you can work on. So I do hope you all have a green team. Also, upper management has to be supportive of your change. You know, the difference between commitment and support when it comes to the farmer's breakfast is the egg contributed by the chicken is supportive, but the bacon contributed by the hog was committed to the farmer's breakfast. Well, you need upper management that is at least supportive. They may not be committed, but they have to at least be supportive. So not that they need to lay an egg, but they do have to support these changes, because if they don't, obviously people just aren't going to go along with you and help. Failure is not an option, at least not at first. So I'm sure that most of you that are watching this have had experience and you've had successes, but it's important to have some successes so that people can see that it's worthwhile, the work that you're trying to do. So let's talk about how do you motivate, how do you appeal to people to get them to do P2, pollution prevention. There's kind of three buckets of motivations, and people cross over, but some people are more motivated egoistic. So they're concerned about what these changes would mean about themselves and their personal risks. Some people are more social altruistic, meaning they're more concerned for the employees or for their children or grandchildren, concern for other people. That's their primary motivation. Some people are biospheric, concerned for the planet and the animals. So thinking about those, egoistic, social or altruistic, and biospheric. And if we look at motivations for corporate sustainability, one of my favorite quotes is, "Cost is a necessary but not sufficient reason for change." This was this economist, Dr. Decker, says this. So what he's saying here is you have to meet the cost threshold, but just because you're going to save money is not enough reason for people to make changes. However, it is a reason that some people cite. You know, I've had a lot of business owners who have said, you know, I'm just doing this to save money. I'm just doing this because I don't like to waste things. And I know it's more efficient. And I believe them. I believe that that's their primary motivation. I think most of them also know that it's good for the environment, but they may not want to say that. They may want to say, the only reason I'm doing this is to save money. So as you are trying to motivate people to make some changes and to consider options, be sure that you make sure that it will be a savings. Or if it's not a savings, how much is it going to cost to do something? So let's go through these motivations. So cost savings and efficiency is a legitimate motivation for corporations. Environmental compliance is another one. Lots of times people will make changes because they're about to be regulated or because they've exceeded some threshold and they have to make some change. So that's a motivation. They may have corporate goals or they may have local plant goals. There's a lot of corporations that have policies of reduction of use of resources, especially ones that are consumer-facing corporations. If you make consumer products, they're trying to make some changes there so that they can tout to their consumers that they are saving water, saving energy, saving resources. There are third-party certifications. Third-party certifications, to keep you in compliance with your EMS or keep you in compliance with an ISO standard or some other corporate sustainability standard. So all of those things are motivations, reasons why corporations are willing to try to do some things to change and be more sustainable, implement some pollution prevention projects. Those are all ecocentric. So all of those things are concerned with what's it going to do for me. And then the next one is being cool or modern. So I have the Tesla here. The Tesla hits these buttons of it saves money, as far as the fuel that you use. It is environmentally responsible, but the Tesla is also fun to drive, and it's cool, and it's definitely a modern, sleek-looking vehicle. So there's probably as many people that are buying it because it's cool as are buying it because it's environmentally responsible. So don't underestimate the value of cool swag. Okay, the green team needs to have cool swag, environmentally responsible swag, but still, a cool factor, it's a legitimate motivation. And then again, other reasons for corporations wanting to be sustainable are the health and safety of the workforce and just doing the right thing. And you will also find, we often find, the leadership of corporation has had some experience that either connects them to the environment or they've had a negative health experience for themselves or one of their family members. And so those last two are very important as well. What's your pitch? And I really want to know what your pitch is. So please chat, please use the chat function and chat in what your pitch is. What target are you hitting with your pitch? What works at your facility? That's what I want to know. When you are trying to sell to management, when you are trying to sell to the line workers, when you are trying to sell it to the engineers, what is your pitch? What target are you hitting? Please chat your pitch in. So now I want to review a little bit about what pollution prevention is. A lot of people, myself included, jump to solutions. We see that there's some kind of a problem and we jump to fix it. And that's okay. But if you can, what I want to encourage you to do is to think more broadly about the process and to go back and think about where in the process you can make the change. Obviously, the further upstream in the process that you make a change, the bigger the impact on the environment as far as savings go. So this is the pollution prevention hierarchy, the waste management hierarchy, where source reduction is the most preferred option, and then reuse is included there. The next is recycling or composting. That's your next preferable way to take care of waste. Then energy recovery, then treatment, and then disposal. And I know that there are companies that are doing zero waste now, and sometimes they call it zero waste to landfill. And the zero waste folks, some people do spend time here on source reduction, and that's what they need to do, because you can see in lots of places, people are starting to understand that they can't recycle their way out of a waste stream. And of course, recycling is not the promise that, it's not fulfilling the promise that it gave us, that we can have this circular material use. It's a good idea, but it takes a lot of effort, and it's the economics just aren't there for most materials to effectively be recycled. So the only way that we're really going to reduce pollution is through source reduction. A little harder, you have to think, but that's where we want to be. So what are the tools, what are the techniques that we use for source reduction? Product reformulation, and I'm going to talk more about all of these. Input substitution, production unit redesign or modification can reduce our pollutant at the source. Product unit modernization, improved operations and maintenance, or recycling that is integral to the process. Those are all ways that we can reduce pollution at the source. So we're going to talk more about those. But as I said just a minute ago, the big thing that you'll need to do is to rethink what you're doing. Reduce, reuse, rethink. So how do you rethink? One of the ways is with your P2 planning process. So with your green team, you want your green team to help you brainstorm. And you also want to involve employees that are part of the production that you're targeting. So when you get to why these wastes are generated, this is where you really need to do brainstorming. How can you keep from generating these wastes? So many people just want to go to, how do you treat this waste? What are we going to do with this waste? How are we going to recycle this waste? Rather than try to tackle the fact, do we need to have this waste in the first place? What could we do instead of having this waste? How could we change our product or our processes so that we don't need this and we don't generate this waste? That is rethinking and thinking outside the box. And that's where you need your planning team, your green team, and the employees that are involved with the process. If you can get people to think outside their box a little bit and just let them brainstorm. Everyone knows, I think, what brainstorming is, and it's a time when you kind of come up with unrealistic, maybe, suggestions, but you just throw those things out there and try to be creative so that you can potentially, it will spark a solution that will actually work. So don't underestimate the value of brainstorming. Involve employees, and then once you have some ideas on how to move forward, prioritize those based on what they cost, how hard they are, how risky they are, and how long they'll take. And then collect your data. I'll talk more about data. Set goals and measure your results. You'll need the data to measure the results. And finally, publicize your success. This helps motivate people. They see that this is something that's happening. They want to be part of it. It's cool, they get recognition. So you have to do all these things. So you don't get to just come up with a technical solution. You have to motivate people, you have to think outside the box, and you have to be a cheerleader. That's why they pay you the big bucks. Okay, data is your friend. Without data, you're just another person with an opinion. So you need data. There's lots of ways to get data. Some are harder than others. Process maps and mass balances are very useful, but they do take some time. But they give you a way to systematically track your process and the materials that are being generated and coming out. And a lot of times they are very enlightening to do process maps and material balances. So don't underestimate that. It does take some time. A lot of times people don't realize how wasteful things are. Data can help you show how much water you're using, how much electricity you're using, how much waste is being generated that people just don't think about because they're busy getting their jobs done. And if you make a change, you'll need the data to show that the change you made results in a better outcome. So you need that data. Helps keep your momentum going. So I'm encouraging you all, embrace data. It's a pain, but you need it. Okay, training and recognition. Training is very important. Training will educate people, and it's education and awareness are the first steps to change. If people don't know there's a problem, they won't even be aware to try to change anything. So for you to train people on pollution prevention, to train them on source reduction is very important, and why it's valuable, how it's going to save the company money, all the motivations that we talked about, that needs to be part of your training. Just helping people be aware of their obligations to the environment, the amount of efficiency that's involved, opportunities to make changes, helping them be aware of that can increase your compliance if people know the things that they need to be doing. Also, training provides an opportunity for your employees to be involved with each other. If you can do a cohort of training, that cohort establishes a peer norm, so people can see that other people are doing it. Peer pressure, peer norms are very important in getting people to change their behavior. And then recognition. Recognition helps people that are trying to do the right thing, and it also helps the ones that are interested in being cool. And people won't say, I'm just going to be an environmentalist, I'm going to do the environmental thing because I want to be cool, but they do want to be cool. Everybody wants to be cool. So we need to remember that a little bit as we're giving recognition and as we're providing training, and give them the chance to have recognition so that they can be proud. And recognition improves your culture and your employee satisfaction, because employees want to work at a place that cares about them and cares about the environment. So recognition helps with that. They see that things are happening, so that's good. And then I'll just mention again, the sustainability is the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. And of course, much of this talk today is centering on what changes we're going to make that are going to help the planet, and how we're going to operate our business in a way that doesn't hurt the planet. And likewise, using less toxic materials so that people are not negatively impacted by our processes, and including people in the operations, in the decision making, in the training. But we also have to remember that we have to be profitable in order to continue to operate. So we need all three. We need all three of these in order to really be sustainable. Changes must make sense economically. So when you're calculating what the economic impact is, include everything you can and should include. Don't forget anything so that you make a good case for why it's profitable to make these changes. You have savings from materials that you won't use, won't purchase, that's a big one. You have savings from materials you don't have to dispose. You have labor savings from people that are having to handle materials or waste or track environmental compliance. All of those costs need to be included as you're calculating your savings. And your utility costs also need to be included. And of course they vary, so payback costs could vary amongst your different facilities. So how do you move forward? Small changes. Most changes are small. Even though they're small changes, they still require a focused effort, and you have to gather data, but the actual change is small. That's okay. Creating a culture of small changes is important. It allows you to focus on improvements and efficiency, and it leads people to question, why do we waste these things? So you want to get that culture going. Data obviously helps. So we're going to talk now about some of the practical ideas. We're going to jump to solutions now, give you some ideas on things that you may know or may not know that have worked for other companies. So the first strategy on pollution prevention is product reformulation. So I tried to do a little food analogy for all these strategies, and this one is, instead of making traditional nachos, you make nachos with rice cakes. And so that's product reformulation. You get rid of the tortilla chips and you have rice cakes instead. So here's a couple of examples. Product reformulation is not trivial to do usually. It requires you to change processes probably if you're changing the chemistry of your product, but it can lead to very, very positive outcomes. Here's a manufacturer of a flexible polyurethane foam for furniture. They eliminated the use of methylene chloride and changed as a foaming agent and changed to carbon dioxide as the blowing agent. So that got rid of a hazardous air pollutant and a VOC, and it allowed them a much safer chemical to use for their blowing agent. They had to change things in their process because methylene chloride also had the cooling capacity that the carbon dioxide did not have, so they had to refrigerate, add some refrigeration to their process. But that's an example of product reformulation. And just be aware, when you reformulate product, you're probably going to have to change process as well. The second example I'm giving is of a paper manufacturer. They modified the process chemistry for the repulping of their off-spec papers. They had been using sulfuric acid, but they replaced that with liquid carbon dioxide. And then the sodium hypochlorite that they used to clean that pulp, they needed less of that. So altogether, they reduced those chemicals by 46%. Input substitution is a strategy for pollution prevention. So input substitution is like drinking Diet Coke instead of drinking regular Coke. Still get the caffeine, but you get a lot less calories. So here's a couple examples. Paints are often good examples. This is a boat stand manufacturer switched from a low solids paint with a lot of toluene to a high solids paint that could be thinned with acetone. So that's an example, and paints, there's a lot of work that's been done in paints. Here's another example. It's a paint example. This woodworking company found water-based coatings that they could use, and so they started offering these water-based coatings, and they prioritized the offering of these coatings, of these finishes to their customers, like showing them these finishes first to see if the customer could accept and be happy with those finishes, the water-based finishes. And if they didn't, then if they needed a darker color, they would go to the solvent-based coatings. But by showing them the water-based finishes first, about 75% of their orders are now filled with the water-based coating instead of the solvent-based. So product unit redesign or modernization. I liken this one to spraying your skillet with Pam instead of using tablespoons of oil or butter. And you're just changing your production. You're not really changing your production unit in that case, but you're modernizing the way you use that production. So here's a couple of examples of redesign of production units. This was Smithfield, where they make sausages. They were losing sausages just because of gaps in their line equipment, and also when they would load the sausage links into the totes, and they were losing 100 pounds a day of sausages. So it doesn't seem like all that much, but the fix was pretty easy, to just cover the gaps in the machinery and train the employees. Excuse me. And they saved 550,000 gallons of water, 347 therms, 9,000 kilowatt hours, and $2,500 worth of electricity. So it was a pretty easy fix, pretty easy to do, and that's what they were able to do there and save some resources. OFAR Optics use lean manufacturing and Six Sigma techniques, which are great tools to help make your processes more efficient. And when you're using those tools, be thinking about your waste as your environmental waste, not just the waste in time, which is what they focus on a lot. But you can also think about material waste when you use those same tools. So they decreased the use of mineral spirits as a coolant by 70%. And they saved a lot of money. $60,000 associated with hazardous waste and $1 million from all the efficiency improvements. So product unit redesign or modernization, that's another way to prevent pollution. And then I have quite a few slides here that I'll go through fairly quickly. These are all under the category of improved operations and maintenance. Low-hanging fruit. Cleaning processes. The first example is from a candy company where they were washing all the starch and sugar down the drain, created a problem for their wastewater treatment facility that they had. They couldn't deal with all that. So eventually what they discovered was they were able to just mechanically clean instead of wash all that stuff down the drain. And so that's a change, but it saved them a lot of money. It kept them in business. They had almost $500,000 a year in water savings, $2,600 in treatment chemicals, $2,700 the 500,000, almost 500,000 was savings because they did not have to transport their wastewater. Water savings of $2,600, treatment chemicals of $2,700, and $4,800 in natural gas savings because they didn't have to heat this water that they were using to wash the chemicals down the drain. There's a technical high school that switched from petroleum solvents to microbe-based solvents, bio-based technology to clean their dirty parts. They saved $3,000 a year, cost them a parts washer, but the payback was 10 months. And I give you all these examples as easy kinds of solution-based things you might think about to try in your own facilities. These are things you may have seen, you may have already done. Energy efficiency, I think most everybody knows that LEDs are more efficient than fluorescent tubes. A lot of times you can get incentives to help you make switches over to LED lamps, and that's a really good thing. It saves energy. It's a direct replacement, pretty easy. Heat recovery, a lot of people, if you need hot water for your processing, you can recover heat from like a compressor or some other equipment, and so that's usually, this one was a 2.4-year payback. It depends on your utility costs. It's not usually quite as quick of a payback as LEDs. Preventative maintenance. I would like to spend a lot of time on preventative maintenance, but I don't have too much time left in my presentation slot, so I won't. But compressed air leaks and steam traps need preventative maintenance. You need to just have a schedule of fixing those all the time. You can get one of those those sonic guns and find out where your leaks are, and you can just have a program of fixing those leaks. You can see some of the numbers here. Here's a $80,000 saved from 6 facilities for compressed air audits. Here's $55,000 saved at Tyson for steam traps. So there's a lot of these opportunities, and they're very quick payback. Let's talk about inventory control for just a minute. Expired sealants. Sometimes this is the case that I have to present to you. One company lost $38,000 in a month because the sealant that they had in their freezer at the back didn't get rotated to the front, and so people were just taking it out of the front, and so the stuff in the back expired. First in, first out is what you want to do, and that's pretty easy fix, but it is a behavior change, and people have to understand why that's important. Another way to save is to reduce the amount of, in this case it was primer. They were offering multiple different primers, and they determined that they didn't need to offer all these different primers. They could just use one primer even though they had different kinds of paint, and then that would allow them to not have to clean the lines in between primers, which saved them those wastes. And also it allowed them to just buy in bulk that one primer and to not expire different primers. Turn stuff off. We all know we should turn stuff off. For whatever reason, we get busy, we forget, and stuff gets left on. So if you can do automatic controls to help turn stuff off, that's usually very helpful. Occupancy sensors, here they are. One summary had annual savings of $2,000 just by using occupancy sensors. They're not expensive, but these are easy wins to show that you can do some things and make some improvements pretty easily. You can consider a tankless water heater instead of storing hot water. I've got an example of that. Drip urinals. There was a company that had constant drip urinals. I put this one in here because you don't think that this is a big deal, but it was 3 million gallons of water per year, and it cost them almost $5,000. They replaced those with closed solenoid valves with a time delay relay, so it actuates for 2 minutes every 6 hours. That kept the urinals clean, but they saved almost, $4,000, $5,000. And then the last strategy is integral process recycling. That's when you can recycle something within your process, not take it over here and distill solvent separately, but to keep reusing stuff. So countercurrent rinsing is an example. But this one example is reusing water from the rinse stages of the parts washers. They're able to reuse that, save water and money. And this other company made several upgrades, including technology that recovers distilled water from their plating process wastewater. So those kinds of recycling are pollution prevention. So my question to you is, here's a bunch of things I've been talking to you about: motivation, having your green team, getting your commitment, and examples of strategies to approach your pollution prevention. And my question is, what are you going to do? What will you bring? What ideas from this presentation or other ideas are you planning? I would like you to chat those ideas in. And I think now we get to have some live question and answers. So what are your next steps? Let's get started. Thank you very much for letting me speak to you today.
Thank you, Jean, for that enlightening and engaging presentation on P2 efforts and how truly small changes can really lead to big impacts. I know many of you have some questions. We have some questions in the queue, and hopefully some of you have jotted some things down. On the screen, you're going to see some poll questions that Jean Waters has put together and would like your feedback on. Assisting with moderating the question and answer portion of our conference is Jennifer Collins. Jennifer, many of you know, is the manager of the Pollution Prevention and Compliance Assistance Staff in the Office of Program Support. And I'll allow her to come on screen and walk us through the Q&A portion of the program.
Good morning, everybody. As Julia said, my name is Jennifer Collins, and I am happy to have you all here with us today. I will be the moderator for the question and answer portions of today's event. And as you have seen, I have placed the poll up for us. And if you'll please provide us your answer. So we'll share the final answers here in just a moment. And I'd also like to invite Jean Waters to come on here live with us. And let's see if we can get her here. There she is. Welcome, Jean.
Hello.
Hi. Good to see you. And we do have the poll in progress. We have 1 more minute left on that poll. So if you haven't had a chance yet to answer those 2 questions for Jean, please do so. Also, if you have a question from her presentation that you just saw, or some other pollution prevention question with her knowledge and background, perhaps she could answer that for you. We have 1 question that has come in so far, and I will go ahead. I'm going to give the poll just a few more seconds here. And we will close that. We've got 5 seconds. Alrighty, I'm ending the poll. All right, we will share that result. And so 44% say that they do have a green team. And 36% say that no, they do not have a green team. And 20% say not yet. And the number 2 question was, what is the 1 P2 thing you would do following this conference? We have 38% plan or want to have a plan to revisit overall P2 plan, thinking long-term strategy. Brainstorm, look up upstream in processes and think outside. That was 56% of attendees. Include more motivations, messaging is 9%, and goals was 22%. Data collection is 27%, publicized 24%, and management 22%, and the green team was 20%. Any thoughts or comments on that, Jean?
Well, those are great results. I'm really glad so many people have green teams or want to get one started. That's good. I think that'll be very supportive of you. I'm also really glad to see how many people are going to brainstorm. One of the things I think that COVID allows us to do is to realize that we can do things differently. You know, we have to do things differently because we aren't together and things have changed. We have, you know, people to protect and whatnot. So it is a good time to brainstorm because people may be in the position to think a little more differently than they have been in the past. So that's a good thing. I'm glad to see that result too.
Right.
And the overall planning is good. It's a lot of work. You know, I wanted to just comment on everyone who's here today. Your leadership is so important in your company. So it is important what you're doing, what you're saying, how you're interacting with your company. So don't give up on that. It is critical. So I just want to give you an attaboy and encourage you to keep going on that.
Great, thank you. So the first question we have is from an anonymous attendee. Do carbon neutral / sustainability goals for companies like Caterpillar and Cummins include offsets for CO2 emissions from sold diesel engines? If you know that answer.
Well, those companies would be able to answer that question, but the question raises an interesting, it's an interesting question to think, where do you draw the box around your process? And there are laws of producer responsibility laws that for some products, for like now, when you sell a computer in some places, you have to take it back for recycling. And that is something that is imposed sometimes on people that are selling things. So are you, as the person who sold it, responsible for the emissions for that product for the rest of its life? There are some who would say, yes, you know, we want you to be responsible for that. And so I have seen companies that have made their products more efficient, and then they may be able to take credit, you know, they may be able to tout that, that they're doing that for the lifetime of their product. But, you know, that is something that you'd have to ask those companies where they're drawing their box and what they're thinking about. But it is something to think about. And how long are you responsible for the impacts, the environmental impacts of your product?
Yes, definitely. So our second question here is from Mr. Bob Luger, who works with us here in the Office of Program Support. And he says, I know the Tesla is cool. However, it has a 1,000-pound battery that will not last forever. So does the mass disposal of spent batteries really fit a sustainability model?
Well, that's another good question. And that is a criticism, and all the lithium that is being, I mean, that's a legitimate question. So thanks for asking that. You know, I guess you have to answer that for yourself. These are trade-off kinds of questions, but it's important to think about them and to know what you're doing when you're making these different changes. So again, that's kind of where do we draw the box? I mean, if I have a Tesla, but my electricity is produced by coal-fired power plant, that's not the best thing either.
That's right.
So it's complicated.
It is complicated. And I think as we go through and find new technologies, some of these things will change, and the route that we take will need to be considered again.
That's
Yeah,
definitely
every
true.
time.
And there's a lot, you know, when you start thinking about changing the chemicals that you're using in your process, there's a green screen you can go through where you're looking at these different toxicities, and so because you don't want to change from A to B and then find out that B is just as bad as A, but in a different way. So there's a lot to do on that, and we can't always know, but that's also a reason to go back and check it again later. And so for the people who are doing the planning, that's awesome. You go back and you revisit your plan because circumstances change for sure.
Exactly. Yes. We talk about that as the plan, do, check, act
Right,
cycle. So,
absolutely.
you know, we have to go back through even some of the solutions that we've put in place to make sure that
Yes,
they're still viable.
absolutely.
Great. Do we have any other questions for Jean at this point?
I could tell one little story. You know,
Sure. Yeah, we have time.
okay, so my husband is a professor, and he took a sabbatical at the National Renewable Energy Lab in Golden, Colorado. And we're a pretty environmentally responsible household. But when he went to work out there, their culture was so much more aware of all the inputs that they had, and the waste that they had, and like they didn't turn lights on, you know, uh, because their light levels were sufficient, and they had something that came on the computer to let them know when they could open the windows because the outside air was better, and they composted all their paper towels, or I don't know if they used, I know they used paper towels, and they might have had hand dryers too, I'm not sure. But it was a culture. It was a real culture out there to be environmentally responsible. And so that's what, it made a difference for my husband. He changed. I mean, he lived with me and didn't change. And then he went to work at this place and he did change. So I'm just saying, if you can, you know, work on your culture, it's important. So I'm encouraging you.
Absolutely. Very much so. Let's see. We do have another question here from Madeline Meyer. Would you please walk through your typical process for P2 consulting when you are hired to help with the P2 program?
So really the thing to do at first is to know what the client is interested in, what they've got as far as what's in place, and to find out kind of what their motivations are, to listen to them and get started with them like that. And then to take the next step based on what they're willing to do and can do. Hopefully do some planning and have a green team to help with planning, identify what their wastes are and what their areas of concern are, and then just take the next step with that and into implementation. And I did want to mention too that I put together a bibliography of the examples from this presentation in case anybody wants to follow up on any of those case studies. And one of the items in that bibliography is a manual that was created by the Massachusetts Toxic Use Reduction Institute. And they used that as a training for Michigan a few years ago. And that's also a very good resource if anybody is interested to do things on their own within their facility.
And that bibliography will be available for you on the conference website at the item website for the partners. All righty. Do you have any other questions for Jean? We have about 5 minutes. You've got time to chat
Or
in your question
comments.
or
Does anybody else have
comments.
any
Any other
comments?
comments?
Anybody have a success story they'd like to share, or an example that we didn't cover that you've done at your facility? I know all of you are doing lots of things at your facility. Anybody proud of anything they'd like to just put it in the Q&A real quick, that something that they've done? I know I asked for pitches earlier. I don't know if anybody feels like their message is worth sharing, but maybe a little different kind of message. Maybe you have a slogan that you use that maybe other people could use. Those are always nice to see.
Definitely. That was good to not reinvent the wheel,
Right,
if we can share.
right. And I suppose some of that can happen too in the virtual networking that happens later today.
Yes, we do want to, and Julia will talk about that here in a moment. If no one has any further questions, we'll go back to Julia Wickard and have her tell us more about the Remo platform.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, Jean.
Yes, thank you, Jean, for sharing your knowledge and a part of your day here in Indiana with us. We're glad you're with us through the day. Attendees, again, we look forward to getting your comments about each of our speakers and the content of the conference. And so following the conference, we will have an email that will be going out. And we just ask that you share as much feedback with us about things you liked or things you'd like to see in the future. That's really important. So now until 1:30, yeah, there's this little thing called lunch, but you can take your lunch into one of our exhibitor tables, and you have an opportunity to actually check out our new technology in our trade show, in our exhibit hall. We have exhibitors waiting there now, and they are waiting to visit with you about tips and tricks and things that you might want to share in a more intimate setting at a table. The trade show is being presented through a social media platform called Remo. And Remo is a virtual platform where you can gather with your colleagues and have discussions and communicate. It's laid out in an office setting or a trade show setting for our purposes. And we have labeled each table with an exhibitor's name. So when you get in there, you can actually look around and decide which exhibitor you'd like to visit with. And when you get in, you actually just double click your cursor and you can sit down at that table. So to get to Remo, just as a reminder, as you came in, you just click on the Remo Exhibit Hall tab that is located on the top of the Hay Summit page to join this live action. And there's video interaction, there's chat interaction that you can have. And as you move from table to table, you will have the opportunity to have face-to-face live video interactions. But right before we leave this conversation today, we are going to promote each of you as a panelist. Ben showed you the picture we took last year. We know not all of you are P2 members, but after our conference, we hope that you'll consider joining if you are not a member. So we want to promote each of you as a panelist, and we ask you to turn on your camera. So in the lower left-hand corner, you should have the icon with the video camera. We just ask that you turn on your camera, and we're going to do a virtual photo. When we promote you, the system will actually reconnect you. So it may appear that you're leaving us, but you're not. You're just being reconnected as a panelist. And then just stay with us for just a few moments, and we will screenshot each of you in a block of attendees for our conference photo. So Jennifer will come on and let you know when we are done with the photo part, and then you'll be free to go, and we'll plan to see you back here at 1:30. So stay on right now. We're in the process of promoting you as a panelist, and we'd love to get a group photo if we can.
Jean, can you see me?
We can see you as you're coming on, so just bear with us for 1 second. We're allowing you to use your mic and your video. We would like to get a picture of everyone.
Okay,
So,
I can't see me, but I can see you.
okay, just a minute. We'll get right to you. Thanks. Now's the time to comb your hair or fix your makeup if you want. Okay, let's see if we've got everybody. Not yet. I think we might have got everybody. Is everybody able to, we're going to stop sharing the screen. Now, everyone, if we can allow your cameras to be on video. And we're going to have to take a screenshot of both pages of folks. So just bear with us here. I will let you know when we're going. Angela Taylor, please show your video here. Uh-oh, sorry. Hang on a second. I'll let you know when you need to smile. So just a minute here. Teresa Colson, I don't see you. Peter, let's see, Janet, I see you. Peter is not showing whoever that is, and Teresa Colson. Angela Taylor is not showing still. All righty. And, all right. Do we have everybody on camera that wants to be on camera? Yes?
So I keep saying start video, but it's not.
Okay, let me see if there's something that I can do for you on this end. Oh, now you've moved. So is that Teresa's problem too, maybe? Okay, let's see. Okay, 1 second here.
I can't get my video to turn on.
You can't either. Okay, Kristen, can you possibly enable those?
Yeah, mine says it's
I've
on.
got, it'll just be 1 second. I think as far as the host, we have to change that for you. Hello, Bruno. Good to see you. All right, Holly, are you able to unmute yourself or show your video?
I can unmute myself, but I don't see me on screen. It's
okay.
but I've got my camera on as well.
Camera's
so.
on and you can't, okay.
If you do have a laptop, you might have to slide over your camera.
Yeah, that's open because I'm on screen
It's
for
large.
the round table.
Huh.
I don't know.
Okay, well, and I don't see Peter either. Peter, are you able to join the video?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Okay. Well, I've got 3 of you that don't have Holly, Angela, and Peter.
That's why they make Photoshop.
Right.
Maybe it's because I'm in the Remo hall.
Oh,
With
that would be
videos.
it. So if you're
So
already
Oh,
in
okay.
Remo, you can't also share on Zoom.
take off my video.
Turn the Remo off. That is correct.
Okay, hold on.
So, and we can get you back into Remo in a minute. So. Thanks for doing this. We really wanted a conference photo. So
No.
that's great.
Okay, can you see me now?
No. I still don't have Holly, Angela, or Peter.
So weird. Okay.
If there's Angela,
There we go.
Holly, you
How'd you
may
do
want.
that, Angela?
So I went under, I clicked on the little caret on the video and I went to video settings and I had to click enable HD under my video.
All right, we'll get Holly on here and then we'll take a picture. And I haven't heard from Peter, so I'm not sure if he's still there.
Oh, that worked.
All right, is everybody ready now?
Yep.
Okay, get close to your screens. Well, not too close, but so we can see your smiling faces. I'm taking, so just hang on here. I've got 2 screens of folks to take. So just 1 second here. Okay. Okay, ready? All right, I've got 1 group. Just stay there for a second. And we will get the second group here. Oops, 1 second. Make sure I don't lose anybody in the meantime here. Okay. Technology is amazing, but you know, too many windows open could be a problem. All right, let's do next screen and everybody smile. Okay. Thank you so much. Wonderful. We will post these so that you all can see them. And we appreciate you joining in our craziness. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Excellent.
We will see you back here at 1:30.
Okay.
1:30.
Yep. Go to the Remo Hall.
Okay. See you in a little bit.
Thank you.
See you.